Hello everybody and welcome to another Tutorial Tuesday. We've been locked down in quarantine. I'm getting a little stir crazy, and although I want to do some crazy makeup, I think today would be a good day to show you my no makeup routine. So let's go ahead and get right into Tutorial Tuesdays. Alright guys, so I do my no makeup look a couple of different ways, sometimes a little bit more makeup than others. Any makeup is going to make it look like you're wearing makeup, but I'm going to kind of take you through phases of how far I go sometimes, because it really does vary. So first off, let me go ahead and get my hair pinned back and let's get started with the whole routine. Okay, so typically when I'm doing kind of a no makeup look, the first thing that I'm going to do is eyebrows. Now, of course, you want it to look like you're kind of not wearing makeup. So what I do with my eyebrows is, as you can see from, be careful getting your eyebrows plucked, because I like my thick look now, but I used to get them way too thin. And I got lucky and at least most of my hair grew back, but I have a lot of like patchy areas that you can see. Patchy kind of in the front and here. So when I'm doing a no makeup look, basically what I'm doing is I'm just going to take my typical Anastasia Brow Definer pencil, and I'm going to go ahead and just kind of touch up those areas that need it the most, those areas that are kind of just a little patchy, and I'm going to do very, very light strokes so that they do look more like hairs. So we're just going to kind of stroke up. I don't want to edge it. We're not edging the edge. We're not going to go in and do a whole carving out the eyebrows routine. We're just kind of filling in where it's a little light. And then what I'll do is I'll take my brush, kind of move those hairs around. So for those of you that are used to seeing me with a full glam look, you can see that I do not make them sharp, I do not edge them, I just kind of go in and, like I said, lightly fill it in, and you can already see the difference in just a fuller looking brow. So I'm going to go ahead and still do the typical routine of setting my brows, just because I do have a lot of hair on my brows and I don't like them to move around, and especially in those areas that I need filled in, I want to push those hairs up. So what I do is I'm going to take my brow gel, and I'm going to kind of make sure I'm going up even on the outside so that those hairs are pulled more into the area where I have had to fill in a little more. And that's, the more you can make those hair strokes, the more natural it's going to look. Next, after my eyebrows are done, the next thing I get into is just kind of brightening the under eye area and doing a little bit of highlighting around the face, and usually that's all I do for base. So if you do that, I'm going to show you both techniques, but if you do that, you're going to want to use a concealer that's more your actual skin tone instead of using a brightening concealer, because you're just going to do under the eyes and in your kind of highlight regions. So I'm going to do that same routine, but I am going to do it with a lighter concealer, because what I'm going to do is, for those of you that don't feel comfortable just wearing a concealer and feel like you need a little bit more coverage on your face but still want that natural look, I'm going to show you the foundation technique. But I will be honest with you, if I'm doing a natural makeup look, I do not use foundation at all. I just conceal a little bit and then I move on to the next step. But I will show you a foundation step for those of you that need it. So let's go ahead and take my lighter, my Smashbox Go-To concealer, and I'm just going to put that under the eyes. And with a natural makeup look, a no makeup look, you want to go very light. We're just doing very, very light brightening. I get redness around the nose, so I'm going to do it there. I'm going to do a little bit heavier under where my dark circles are. I have some spotting and redness around the nose here and on the lip. So I just do a little tiny bit and just kind of go through with my damp Morphe sponge. And I'm going to go ahead and press this in to brighten. And because I'm not going to be putting on any type of eyeshadow or anything like that, I take kind of the residual and I'll just brighten up at the top of the eye. And you see the difference with just the residual that's on the sponge? I'll just kind of brighten the top of the eye as well. Now again, if that's all you were going to be doing, so that's typically what I do, and then I move on to a little bit of bronzer. I don't use blush with a no makeup look, and I go very light on bronzer, but I would typically go into the bronzer step next, and I would have used a concealer that's a little more my skin tone. But for those of you that are not comfortable with that little bit of coverage and want a different trick, if you're going to use a foundation, you need to go sheer. If you're going full coverage, you just lost the no makeup look. There's no point in doing it anymore because everybody's going to be able to tell you're wearing makeup. You might as well just do a full face. So you want to use like a BB cream or a very sheer coverage foundation. I don't have those because I don't do that technique very often. So another trick for those of you that don't want to buy a whole separate foundation for your no makeup looks is to go ahead and I'm going to take my Pro Filter Hydrating Foundation, right? And I'm going to take my Lancome Hydrozen moisturizer. So take your facial moisturizer. Put a couple pumps of your facial moisturizer on the back of your hand. I'm going to mix in maybe 2 pumps of my foundation. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of mix that in with my finger a little bit. And what your moisturizer is going to go ahead and do is sheer out your more full coverage foundation so that it's just kind of touching up and helping to cover blemishes. I'm going to take the residual that's on my finger and put that on. And then I'm going to take my same sponge and just apply a light coat. And you see how sheer that already is? In case you've seen any of my other videos where I use this foundation, it's usually much more full coverage. So I'm just going to take a little bit and spread it around. And again, that gives me much more sheer coverage. It's more like a moisturizer or a BB cream versus being a full coverage foundation. And it's going to give me a little bit of additional coverage for the rest of my face. Again, this is not a step that I do, but if you need that coverage, this is going to help you out. Now, a good trick with that as well is most of your foundations don't have any SPF in them, right? So what you can do is if you are doing that technique with a moisturizer, you can actually get your SPF moisturizer, so one with an SPF 15, SPF 25, and mix that in with your foundation, and it's also going to give you a little bit of sunscreen coverage. So that's a little tip if you're going to be going outside. I'm obviously not going outside because we're in quarantine right now, so no point in wasting my SPF moisturizer. So if you just did the concealer and nothing else, it's still very important to set with some powder. Again, I'm using my my Maybelline Fit Me pressed powder. I'm not a big fan of the loose powders, so I'm going to take a little bit of that on my small brush, and I'm still going to set underneath my eyes. And now that I did concealer on top, I'm also going to set above the eye, especially in the crease area, so that my concealer doesn't crease up. And just anywhere where you applied the concealer, you would typically take a small brush. And I just usually would take my small brush and go down my nose, kind of over my lip in here. But since I did foundation, I'm going to go ahead and get back into my big fluffy brush and just do the whole face really quick. Very, very light coat. You want this to look very natural, so very light coat. So now for those of you that don't use the foundation and just use the concealer, look at the natural color of your face. If you still have a lot of nice color in the cheeks and everything, there's no need to go in with anything else. You can stop the foundation portion of it right here. But if you put on foundation, obviously foundation is going to flatten out your color. Or if you're like me, even when I put on concealer, I don't have a lot of color in my face. I'm usually still going to take my Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer, and I'm going to take my big fluffy bronzing brush, and we're going to go, again, very light. We want this to be very natural, but just add a little bit of color back into the face. So just a tiny bit around the forehead, and when I say tiny, I mean tiny. I don't even know if you guys will be able to pick it up on the camera. You just want to add a little bit of color. You don't want to look too powdery. So I'm going to do one side of the face just so I can show you kind of how light I'm talking and see if you guys can see the difference. Alright, so as you guys can see, this side has no kind of bronzing or color added to the face, and this side does. So just light, especially just deepening up the back. You want to add a little bit of those shadows back into your face, but just the slightest amount, and make sure it's blended in very well, and that's it. Alright, now that I've got that flush of color in the face, if you want to add some blush, you can. I do not add blush. I just kind of leave it like this. This gives me enough color, and I do tend to get a little bit of rosiness in the cheeks as I go about my day, so I will typically leave my base like this. Okay, so for me, now that I've got a little bit of color into the face, that is typically where I'm going to stop. If you feel more comfortable adding a little bit of blush, you can, but again, we're already kind of getting, and especially with the foundation and everything, we're already getting out of the realm of a no makeup look. But what I do always do, because I do brighten up those eyes, is I will take a little bit of that bronzer onto a clean brush, and I'll just tap a little bit on the outside of each of the eyes, and then I'll blend it into the crease to add more of a brown darkness versus a purple darkness, because your eyes naturally are not obviously that bright. So it just gives a little bit of depth and dimension, and I just rub it into the outside V and the crease, and I just use my bronzer. Then I'm going to take a much smaller brush, and I'm going to go ahead and just do a quick light dose underneath the eyes. And this just adds a little bit of depth back to the eyes so they don't look so flattened out by the concealer and or foundation. So now again, the next step is totally optional, but I always love a good highlight, and I go very, very light with my highlight. I'm going to be using my Morphe Stellar Impact. I'm going to take my highlighter brush, and I'm just going to go into Galactic, and I'm going to go very, very light on the cheekbones, down the nose slightly, and over the Cupid's bow. And that's it. Just to give the face a little bit of a highlight effect. Alright, so the next step is generally to go in with your mascara. So my recommendation is to go in with a mascara that matches your natural lash color. So if you have dark brown eyebrows, dark brown hair like I do, you'd use probably a dark brown mascara. You can use black if you like. I typically still just go in with black, but usually if you're doing a natural look, you should be going in with a lighter mascara. But I'm going to go ahead and take my Voluminous Lash Paradise, and I'm going to go ahead and just give my lashes a quick coat. Okay, so typically that's where I would stop with my low makeup or no makeup look. Obviously you can tell I'm wearing mascara, so like I said, if you really want a no makeup look, use a mascara that's the same color as your lashes. But me, I'm a little extra pretty much all the time, so typically I would take something kind of like my 205s with a light line on the lashes, so the actual strip is not too thick and black, and I'll actually sometimes put on some short lashes with this look as well. But today I'm just going to keep it with the mascara, no point in going all out with the lashes. So our next step after that is to basically just put on some gloss. So I'm going to take my Rimmel Stay Glossy, and I'm just going to gloss my lips a little bit. And that pretty much does it, guys. So that is how I do my kind of low makeup, no makeup, kind of natural look. I typically, again, don't do all the foundation, but that's how I do my look. So hopefully you guys are able to learn some tips and tricks on how to do a light makeup look. If you have any questions or any ideas for me, please feel free to put them in the comments below. With that being said, guys, please like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I will continue to be uploading twice a week. Every Tuesday is my beauty videos, Fridays either food or fitness. So thanks again, guys, for joining me for another Tutorial Tuesday, and I look forward to seeing you all next week.